I'm Nate with the BMW blog, and this is the all-new BMW X2. The new X2 features a complete redesign and looks completely different than the original X2. This one I'm driving is the iDrive 28i, but they do feature a more sporty M35i. This is equipped with the BMW twin-power turbo engine, which is a 2-liter inline 4-cylinder and produces 245 horsepower and accelerates it from 0 to 60 in 6.2 seconds. Now, this all-new design is quite catching. I've had quite a few people tell me how much they like the new looks. It features new LED headlights and taillights, which have that new BMW design to them. It also is a sports coupe SUV, therefore it has that more slopey rear end style, which makes it a little bit more traditionally styled, but I'm not a big fan of the coupes. Now, one thing I do like for this new X2 over the old one is I sat being at 6'2" way back in that old X2. So much so that when I was stopped at stop signs and trying to look to my left, I would look right into the B-pillar. Thankfully, this is a little bit more redesigned, so it's further back, so I have much better visibility. When I heard I was going to get this X2, I was quite excited because I wanted to utilize it to its fullest. But when I got in, I was a little disappointed because it was missing some features that are key for an active lifestyle. Mainly, there's not a lot of room in this car. Due to the sport coupe styling, it only has 25.3 cubic feet of storage. And with the rear seats down, it only has 51.7. Now, I was going to take this out on a family camping trip, and the only way I could fit all of our gear in here is by taking out the rear spare tire and toolkit. So, okay, fine. It doesn't have a lot of storage. It's an exit vehicle. I'll just throw the rack on top and have the rooftop box, right? Nope, no roof rails. So I could not attach a rack to put the box on or any type of crossbars of any type. So that kind of really limited what I was able to do this weekend. Now, a few things I did notice is it's a lot of fun though.
And this is where I came to the realization that this is not a coupe-styled crossover SUV. It's actually a hot hatchback wearing an SUV costume.
This is equipped with adaptive M suspension and M Sport brakes. Now, this suspension with these tires is definitely providing a lot of road feedback. Thankfully, not too much though, as there's not a lot of road noise, but it is a little bit persistent. But the M Sport brakes though, I'm not the biggest fan of in this car. Now, normally I like M Sport brakes on my BMWs, but for this one, I'm just not liking this feel. It bites right at the top and then it's very firm. There is just no progressiveness to it. In situations where you're trying to brake lightly, it just is not a good feel. I was in a lot of traffic this week and it's just not ideal at all. I found it a little bit grabby when I was trying to brake lightly and just made it hard to modulate. It just, without the progressiveness to it, it was just all or nothing, it felt like. Definitely something that needs a little retuning. Now, with the sporty hatchback philosophy in mind, this interior makes a lot more sense. It is bold. There's lots of lines and colors and brushed metal and lack of piano black, which is one thing that makes me very happy, is the lack of piano black, because there's no fingerprints. There's actually matte black on the center console, which is fantastic. I love it. This features a Sky Lounge panoramic roof, which brings in a ton of light, which is fantastic. Love bright, airy interiors. Now, this does have a very sporty feel to it as well in the seats. They hold you in very snugly. There is a lot of support, but not the best for long road trips. On our camping trip, my fiance did not like how firm they were. She found them a bit uncomfortable. So that leads me once again to it not being a typical X vehicle. It is more of a sporty hatchback. And that's what I expect from sporty hatchbacks, is seats that hold you in tight and snugly. Thankfully, they have the lower leg extenders like most BMWs. I was recently in a Mini Countryman that didn't, and it was a lot more uncomfortable. I'm a little more upright than I would like in a sporty hatchback, but it does give me a good driving position. I'm dead on with the steering wheel at a good height with plenty of headroom, even though I'm 6'2", and just a great driving experience. Now, going back to the engine power though, with that mentality of it being a sporty hatchback, and it kind of falls a little bit flat in that department. 245 horsepower it's enough. It makes it a little bit quick, a little bit zippy, but it's nothing that's going to be awe-inspiring. And this being a smaller car doing 0 to 60 in 6.2, just not that impressive. But it doesn't make you feel like you're lacking on power. Getting on the freeway, on-ramps, and merging into traffic, I had plenty of speed. It was just nothing that's going to be earth-shattering. It's just it does a good job type of engine. Now, though its acceleration is not that exciting, it does feature a 7-speed Steptronic dual-clutch transmission, and in sport mode, it has the flappy paddles, so you have the ability to downshift and bounce up to that red light quite quickly. Now, that is a lot more fun than if it was just a regular automatic transmission, and then I would have a feeling like it would be a little bit slow. But with this transmission and the ability of this engine to rev up quite high, red lines at almost 7,000 RPMs, it gives it that nice sporty feel, even though it's not that fast. Now, this does feature BMW's curved display, but it's a little bit smaller, I believe, than most of the other BMWs, which I kind of like because that allows me to focus more on the head-up display, which gives me the information right in my field of view. Now, the curved display is great because everything is easily reachable in this new BMW Operating System 9 touch display. A lot of things have been moved into multiple menus. Obviously, now we have our HVAC controls in there, even a lot of our cruise control features. Like the follow distance control has been moved from the steering wheel into the control unit. Now, BMW has done a lot of work on their user interface, and although it has come a long way from the original iDrives, they've obviously gone away from the little dial on the center console, and you can lean a little more heavily into the voice mode. But there's a few things I've noticed that have become troublesome and have popped up in this Operating System 9.
This one was quite annoying. Immediately after getting into the vehicle and taking off, I noticed that the speed limit indicator was not matching to what the road speed limit actually was. It was already a lot slower. In 45 zones, it was saying 25, and in 60, it was saying 35. And these weren't back roads either. These were major freeways like Interstate 5 through Seattle.
So after a little bit of time, I was able to go in and turn off that warning, but that was quite frustrating. And I was told that there was probably an update for this. Look through the operating system. It is current and up to date, so there is no update. Since I've had it throughout the week, it has gotten better with the speed limits, but every once in a while it is still off. One other issue I've noticed, which isn't too big of a problem, but it is something that just annoys me, and it could be due to this a little bit smaller display, but this is showing me that there is words underneath some of the numbers. Like, there's not enough gap between some of these letters. They're literally overlapping each other. Now, another annoying thing of this vehicle that I noticed, which is fairly common with newer cars, is when I was out camping, every time I'd open a door or the trunk, all the displays would turn on and the lights would turn on. Now, not a big deal if you do that once or twice, but when you're out camping, or let's say at your kids' sports events or something, the doors get opened a lot, and therefore the battery was really getting drained down, and I had a mental note to start her up every once in a while to make sure I wasn't left stranded. Now, I'm sure there's probably a setting in one of the menus somewhere, but I think after about 5 or 6 times of opening the door and not turning on the car, it should maybe then start saying, hey, maybe I shouldn't turn on all these displays. They're just needed in and out. I feel like that default needs to be set into the operating system. And of course, that brings me to the proximity key. Literally the one thing I immediately change on all BMWs right now is the lock unlock as I approach. I find that very annoying. I always have my key in my pocket, walking around in the garage and things like that, and the car is literally locking and unlocking nonstop. I'll walk inside, I'll come back out, it'll be locked. Just annoying. I immediately turned that setting off. I wish it was default off. Being just a hot hatch that it is, that's perfectly fine. I really enjoyed it as that type of vehicle. But at $52,000, that is a tough sell because it's not as utilitarian. It's going to be harder to sell. I did not see a lot of the previous X2s, and I think that is one of the reasons is people don't buy SUVs that they can't do a lot with. So if this was spec'd out with the all-season tires, the roof rails for a roof rack, and had a little bit more cargo space, yes, I know it would be an X1. Now I know this is labeled as an X2, but this is definitely fits into what would be called a BMW crossover. And unfortunately, personally, I think we have too many crossovers. I think this would be a lot more fun if it was just a hatchback. Now, it has all the luxuries of a BMW with the nice interior, the BMW operating system, the curved display, augmented reality in the navigation, and it has the looks. It has that mean BMW look. It's not my personal styling, but it does look good. I got a lot of compliments while driving this car. And if that's what you're looking for, this is a great car. Just be sure to spec it with all-season tires and roof rails so that you can use it as an X vehicle.